Good evening. That's wrong, isn't it? Good afternoon. Welcome to 9 years pre-match at home to Cheltenham Town. George, good afternoon.
Yeah, we got there in the end, Stu. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, and welcome to all our viewers joining us from the Cherry Red Records Stadium, Plough Lane here for the FA Cup. It's an exciting game, and hopefully it'll be a good one.
Yeah. So this is literally just a bit of a tester for us. So, as you probably know, in 9 years we do like to test things and get things wrong. To be fair, so that's always a good thing. So if things go wrong, don't worry, it's how it is. But we're going to give you live, build up. And George, do you know what? After last week, this is going to be fun actually because the camera's here and you're over here. That's clever. But I will keep this way, George. I'm not going to warn you. I am. After last week, George, this is probably like being in Tenerife at 30 degrees. This is lovely at Plough Lane, isn't it? Yeah,
certainly a bit warmer today than it was last time we were here for that game against Fleetwood. Hopefully it will stay that way. The conditions, it looks like we're going to stay dry here at Plough Lane. Hopefully it will stay warm and we won't all freeze to death like we did last weekend.
Okay, so we've got some comments coming through already. Jamie Scorer, let's hope we get through and hopefully get a Prem tie at home. Yeah, we'll probably go through that a bit later, George, because we've already been sport already, haven't we, in terms of a lovely trip to the Emirates early this season of the Carabao Cup. We've got Sean Tennyson. I don't know, easy win today. What do you think, George?
I'd certainly disagree with that. It's going to be a very tough game. You look at the Cheltenham Town lineup, they're a very strong team with a lot of good attributes. They're certainly going to be able to cause us problems at the back. They're a physical team. Obviously, they've got Chris Hussey and ex-Womble, so he's bound to have a good game, making his Plough Lane debut. Moment he's probably been dreaming about for a few years. So we're in a position where it's going to be a tough game today, and we can't take it for granted.
So we're going to go through the team lineup. George, just keep talking. Actually, what we do, you can talk about. Oh, look, do you know what? There's some new advertising boards. I'm quite sad when it comes to advertising boards, George, because I don't know, they're colourful. We've got the Wimbledon Brewery over there at the moment.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, it's great to have an LED boards, and we've spoken about it in years gone by of moments that us as a club where we felt big time. Getting a scoreboard up, and this season having the LED scoreboards in is definitely something that's contributing and making us think. Do you know what? It's another landmark in our journey as a football club. Obviously, the Rainbow Laces campaign on there at the moment, a very worthy cause and something the club should be proud of for our achievements, for what we were able to do last week for both the men's and the women's team. Great to see we're still supporting that campaign and obviously going through our sponsors as well. It's something we should be proud of as a club. It's another landmark achievement, and it's something that not many grounds in League One do have. It's something we can be very proud of.
George, you know what? I'm really impressed with that. That was a really good filler. I'm quite impressed. Normally I'm like trying to get you to keep quiet, but actually, do you know what? You kept talking and talking, which is really good. Please let us know what you think today's result's going to be. Any questions you've got for us or anything about Plough Lane, we'll try and answer you as well as we can. We may have Nick popping along here as well later. He may pop his head along. He does that. And also, bearing in mind we are live, so we are probably likely to have people literally just saying hello. So it's live, and that is what you get with live stuff. So I'm nearly ready. As you can tell, I'm literally just trying to do some clever graphics. Never a good idea, George, is it?
No.
Especially when I forgot there was 9 subs.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't know the competition rulebook, Stu. If only you had no life like myself and spent all nights memorising this stuff in August.
Does anybody, though, seriously know the rules? Keep the faith, by the way. ASCW Nick 1, that's obviously the most important one.
Yeah.
Nice hair, George. Yeah, I was saying that. Do you know what? My beard, can I just say, right, wearing masks at the moment, it's a bit of a nightmare because my beard is literally getting ruffled. Now I know in the scheme of things with COVID and stuff that is minimal. However, it does literally muck around my beard. So yeah, nice hair, George. Right, okay, so let's go through team lineups. So what have we got? We have, that's a bit interesting. We will try and get a bit closer. This is gonna be fun. One second. Let's
what are you doing?
I don't know, but we're not both on the screen, George. I will lean over. That's it. I will get close to you, George. That's worrying. There we are. Look at that. George couldn't get closer. In the between sticks, Nick Zanev. That's no surprise. good season for Nick so far, isn't it?
Yeah, Nick's had a very good year for us. Again, it's his first sort of year as our standalone number one, so it puts him in good stead. You know, obviously getting an FA Cup appearance under his belt is always a good thing. It'll be a good occasion for him. Obviously, Zaki played midweek against Haringey in the London Senior Cup, so it's not a surprise to see the gloves being handed back to Nick Zanev today. No surprises there.
Definitely. So, back line hasn't changed. It's unchanged, isn't it, from last week?
Unchanged starting 11, but it's, you know, I think there was a bit of discussion we were talking about before we came on air about whether Henry Lawrence would come back in and start at right back, but Robbo's decided to stick with Paul Ossu on the right. Obviously at centre back we've got Dan Choker and Ben Hennigan. Those two pick themselves at the moment. Nesta continuing his run at left back, and I think no surprises there either.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you know, you look at the quality of Henry Lawrence, you probably would think it'd be an automatic choice. However, to be fair, Henry can play multiple positions, can he? But it's in a way Paul Ossu and Nesta Guinness-Walker have been given that challenge, and they're playing well, and they deserve to keep their place. Do you also think, bearing in mind we've got a game at Accrington Tuesday, as you obviously well know, Georgia travelling up there, do you think it's also a bit of a mind on maybe, you know, we're going to have to rotate the squad a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a case of let's not overuse players who are going to be key roles. Obviously Henry Lawrence has been playing for England youth as well, so that's got to be factored in, the travelling he's had to do as part of that campaign with them. So no real surprises, but Paul Ossu's been incredible since he came on at right back. He deserves to keep his place, and as Robbo said in his pre-match interview on Thursday, it's a great problem to have now, where we've got multiple contenders for multiple positions. It's something we've lacked a bit in previous years and through our injury crisis, but it's great to see we've got that back.
Definitely. Okay. So the engine room, as I call it, I just think it's a great engine room. This partnership probably, if you look at Will Nightingale, who's fortunately injured at the moment, and Ben Hennigan, that was a really, really good partnership, wasn't it? But this all season, this picks itself at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's those two are picking themselves. Obviously George Marshford's on the way back from a long-term injury, so he'll be hoping to break into this midfield unit in a couple of weeks' time. But having Anthony Hartigan and Alex Woodyard, they're just outstanding players. Obviously they complement each other well. You've got the aggressive nature and the work rate of Woodyard, the technical ability of Anthony Hartigan, and they complement each other well for a midfield too. No changes there, and nothing expected.
Definitely. And as I like to call it out, attacking flair, and that's what it is. These three, do you know what? Crewe, obviously, and Fleetwood, and even Guiseley, and going Pompey. If we're going back to say the last 4 games, probably could say that these three are now starting to, go where they were beginning of the season. McCormick in a free role, sort of changed a little bit now, isn't it?
Yeah,
got his goal last week, so he's going to be on fire, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's a player who's coming back. You know, he's trying to find a bit of confidence that maybe was a bit lacking in the earlier stages of the season after a poor start. But it's great to see him, finding back. Hopefully that goal will kick off the run. Obviously Jack Rudoni playing. He's an outstanding player. We all know that, and we all know about Ayub Roussel. Great to have him back. Obviously after the incidents last Saturday. Hopefully it won't be such an eventful game from his point of view this afternoon, but I'm sure he's going to have a good game as well, and another player who picks himself.
Definitely. So what are we now? 28 minutes to kick off, and I noticed the finishers coming on. I must call them finishers because that's what they are now. They're our finishers now, aren't they? And Darren Presley, Mabude, nine people on the bench today. As if need bigger benches, George. Needs bigger benches. But anyway, and of course, leading the line for the Dons is Mr. Ollie Palmer, who, do you know what, George, sort of realised how much we missed him.
Yeah, he's a player who I think when he was out injured, we all noticed that there was something missing, that target man, that outlet. And ever since he's come back, he's completely transformed what we're doing. Everything we've been trying to do now goes through Ollie. He's a good option to have as a target man. Obviously, he's great in the air. We know what he can do with the ball at his feet. We know about his attitude, as Crewe fans found out at the weekend when they decided to try and give him a bit of stick. But I think he's a very good player, and he's someone who we definitely miss when we're without him. Another player who I think will be hoping to cause problems to a Cheltenham side that isn't amiss to a physical battle.
Yeah, definitely. And let's go through the 9 finishers. Unbelievable, isn't it? So yeah, we go through Zaki Uala. I always forget, it's such a difficult name. I can't just call him Zaki for short. Henry Lawrence, George Marsh, Nathan Chislett, Dapo Mabude. I always struggle to know what to call him now. There's so many different things people call him. Nice things, of course. Aaron Presley, all shook up. Edgar Garger and Luke Jennings. And as you can see, Edgar Garger doesn't have a picture yet. He wasn't here for a photo shoot. So I found one of him ages ago because he looks a lot older. He's got old now. Like, do you know what, George? We remember him in the academy. Remember him in the under-23s. He's 24 now. But
I know how that feels.
Well, yes, you do. And look at the hair compared to yours, George. But do you know what? I was really pleased with what Rob said because it's very easy to go through and say it's sentimental and yes, but he also said the players have literally said, why have you not signed him? Like, you've got to sign him. So his players, in a way, basically took away potential bias, didn't they?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Egley, we both know he's been training with us all season. It's great he's got an opportunity because he's been so unlucky, obviously, with the timing of his injury and then with COVID. He's a player who has deserved that break, and hopefully we can give him that second opportunity to prove, not just to us, but to the footballing world, that he's a player who is capable of being a League One player. Obviously, he hasn't played in pretty much 2 years, so it's going to be a slow process easing him back into it. But he's an outstanding prospect for us, and I think he'll be able to play a big role between now and the end of the season.
Definitely, and if you look at that bench, so Henry Lawrence you expect to get minutes. George Marsh, really good to have him back. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you really rate George Marsh when we signed him, I remember you saying. And from what I've seen, we really like him, but he just hasn't really had the opportunity, has he really?
Yeah.
Then, the midfield too, then he got injured. So, expecting him to get minutes today?
Yeah, I'd be expecting him to get minutes off the bench. Obviously, he got minutes, he got about an hour on Tuesday night against Haringey, so we'd be expecting him to maybe try and build on that, maybe at 20 minutes towards the end today. But he's a very good player. As you said, I rated him very highly. He was probably the summer signing I was most excited about when they were announced. I think he's a very, very good player and will complement Woodyard and Hartigan very well once he's back fully fit. He just hasn't had that chance to build momentum and a run of games this season. Hopefully between now and over the Christmas period he'll be able to do that.
I always wonder, sorry George, I always wonder with the way we play two in the midfield, if we ever got swamped. We have got sometimes tendency that people swamp us in midfield. Yeah. Do you think we could play a three in there with George Marsh as well? Do you think? Because that would be quite a solid. I'm just chucking it because he needs to get games, but at the moment dislodging. Let's be fair, Woodyard, who's my player who played the season already, and Andy Hartfield, who's on fire. It's difficult for him, isn't it? Yeah,
and that's the thing. I mean, a midfield three of Hartigan, Woodyard, and George Marsh, I wouldn't be a huge fan of.
Defensive,
I think defensively it'd be very good. It'd be very difficult to break down, but it doesn't give you much creativity in terms of going forwards. You are then very reliant on what would, in that situation, probably have to be a front three to try and get you something. And I think it's something that, it's an option for games when we are going to have to come, when teams like Sunderland, when Sheffield Wednesday, when teams like that are going to play us, or, when Charlton come here, those are teams where you think maybe let's be solid, let's not give them anything and let's try and hit them on the break. I think apart from those games, it's not something that I can envisage us using on a regular basis.
Well, thanks for that, George. Thanks for knocking my idea out of the park.
It's what I'm here for.
Dafa Mabude hasn't had minutes really recently, has he? I know he had minutes at Haringey. Unfortunately, missed the pen, didn't he?
Yeah, he missed the pen in the shootout.
How was he on Haringey? Do you know what? It's always difficult, though, isn't it? When people say, "Well, Haringey non-league, we had quite a decent team," but it never works. It's sometimes just chucking 11 players together and play with each other, isn't it?
Yeah, and it did look like that. It was a bit disjointed on Tuesday. Dapo wasn't at his best, but it was very cold. The conditions weren't great. Obviously, we know all the pitches at Haringey. That didn't help things for a player of his standard. And I think that's, I think it was just not his night. It didn't click. He'll move on and he'll come again. Hopefully he'll be able to get some minutes off the bench either today or Tuesday and trying to reinstate some confidence and get back to being that player we saw in the Bolton game.
Definitely. Sorry, George, I'm just looking at people coming down the stairs. A lot of them got hats on and I'm feeling like I have got my hat because, you do lose most of your heat from your head. However, I don't know, I'm now feeling a little bit like I might need to put it on soon. It's not the most flattering, but it keeps you warm, George. Obviously, you've got a lot of hair, so no one really understand that. Aaron Presley, 2 goals this season. He doesn't necessarily need goals, but he's a bit undecided with the fans, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I'm hoping he gets up to 10 goals to make someone that I know a bit depressed on that. Won't mention the other podcast. But yeah, game time today.
Yeah, again, he's another player who you look at and you think, he's probably going to be entitled to minutes. He's a player who, for some reason, our fans don't seem to have taken to. He's a decent player. He's improving every game he plays. But also, he's a player who is our joint top scorer. He's a player who deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing, and he is improving. It is his first loan spell. And in the second half of the season, I think he'll only improve. It's about rotating him. he's unfortunate in that he had a run of games when he was being used in a style that didn't suit him, when he was having to play instead of Ollie in Ollie's role. I think now we'll be able to see him play much more of his style, being able to play on the shoulder, coming off the bench. I think that's much more suited to his strengths, and I think that will be something we might be seeing him used for today.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not something that we're going to return to sender, is it? Let's be fair on that one. There's just too many. Zach Robinson, back. He probably will go out on loan potentially. I know Robbo was saying that. Needs a loan really, doesn't he? Zach, he's obviously had injuries, which is frustrating. Happens though. Happens to players with pace and stuff like that. It will kick them. And then Vicarja, as we know. So, Zach, crikey, Nick Zanev has just gone off the pitch. We're just going to, George, if you just want to zoom in on the other camera, George, then we can, I'm getting George to do some work, as you can tell. And as you can see, we've got, they're warming up at the moment. It's a cold day, so there's no doubt that they are going to need to make sure they're wrapped up warm, to be fair. As I try and find a graphic, which I haven't got on there. George, let's go through the Cheltenham town lineup.
Yeah, so in goal they've got Scott Flinders, 2 Sean Long, 3 Chris Hussey, 4 Matty Pollock, 8 Liam Sercombe, 16 Callum Wright, 10 Alfie May, 11 Ellis Chapman, 21 Carl Joseph, 24 Grant Horton, 28 Dan Crowley, subs 1 Owen Evans, 5 Charlie Raglan, 14 Andy Williams, 17 Matty Blair, 26 Dylan Barkers, 27 Christian Norton and 34 Will Armitage. I think they've got a few players there who are going to be causing us problems. They have got several players who are very talented. Obviously we all know, obviously Chris Hussey from his time with us. They've got Alfie May who wears 10 for them. He's their star man up top leading the line. He'll be probably playing on the shoulder. He's going to likely cause us some problems. And then another player we're all too familiar with is Matty Blair, who's probably going to be who's on the bench for them today. He'll be looking to get minutes. But for me, a player who I rate really highly is Ellis Chapman. He's a player who was at Bristol Rovers. He's a tidy little player, and I think he's they've got a few players who are going to cause us real headaches this season.
Sorry, I'm just mucking around the camera, George. I got a real big close up myself. No one wants to see a big close up of Stu at the moment. Literally just going to change this quickly because, to be fair, the pitch is more important than looking at me and George as much as you would love me to. Let us know what your predictions are. Just actually remember, I've not done my predictions again for that league table. I might need to quickly do that on it during a break if we have a break. But yeah, let us know what your score predictions are. Cheltenham team, obviously Chris Hussey coming back. Really nice to see that. Liam Sercombe, it's a decent signing, isn't it?
Yeah.
For Cheltenham, isn't it?
Yeah, no, obviously I think Liam Sercombe, he's a player we all know an awful lot about. The way he's going to be trying to dominate midfield for them. And I touched on it earlier, but this is a very good Cheltenham team. I think they're better than their league positions would indicate they are. I think they're going to probably improve as the season goes on, but they've got a lot of good players and a good mix of that with experience. So I think they're going to certainly be looking to cause us a few problems today, and with the players they've got, I wouldn't put it past them.
Look at that, George. That's quite impressive. I'm quite impressed with that. Matty Blair on the bench. Are we a little bit closer, George, or not really? I don't know.
Matty Blair's a player who I think is going to cause us a lot of problems. He's obviously their star man up. He's on the bench today, but he'll probably be coming on for 20 minutes, half an hour if they need him towards the end. But he's a player who, but I think everyone in League One, he's pretty much scored against everyone. The experience he's got, the ability he's got. So I think he's going to be a very good player for them. If hopefully we can put the game to bed before he has the opportunity to come on and cause us too many problems.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed they've only actually named 7 substitutes.
Yeah, they have. I don't know whether that's an issue with, as we've seen with other teams in this competition, not naming names, maybe not being overly familiar with the rule book. But I think this is, or whether that's just they felt that they only need 7. So I don't know what the thinking is behind that for them. But it's certainly going to limit their options if this game goes on. Obviously, there's no extra time and penalties tonight, so it is something that we're going to, hopefully those 9 subs will give us more options as the game goes on.
Definitely. Just to say, we'll move the camera down a little bit so we can see the tunnel. We've only got 2 cameras today. We probably could get more, to be fair. There we go. A bit down. There we are, George. There we are. Technology. So yeah, referee today, Annie Young. Know much about him, George?
He's a referee who I think all keen referee watchers in the lower level will be well aware of after an incident earlier this season. You may have read about it. It was an incident where at a late Northern game, he forgot to play added time and decided that rather than just forgetting about it and adding it on at the end of 90, he decided he'd play in first half injury time at the start of the second half and then switch him round. It was a memorable incident for anyone watching that sort of thing. And he's refereeing us today, so fingers crossed that we get 45 minutes each way and added time where appropriate.
George, you're so harsh on people. And assistants Michael Bagley and Louis Marks, a fourth official, is Lee Crowhurst. So as you can see, Rocket going out onto the pitch at the moment. Robbo's out there as well. Do you know what, George? It's quite nice today, isn't it? The sun's out, the lights are on as well. We are expecting probably the lowest. Well, are we thinking the lowest? Yeah. Well, we've only had one FA Cup fixture, so it's Guiseley, but we're thinking it's going to be what, sub 5,000 today, George?
Yeah, it'll be lower than the Guiseley crowd. I think the ticket sales in advance were fairly limited, but hopefully there'll be a few walk-ups, so it'll be a good crowd. But we mustn't forget, today the crowd would have, whatever we get today, it would have made Kingsmeadow pretty much sold out. Even now we're thinking that's a poor crowd, so I think it's important to put a bit of perspective on that. But it's slightly lower crowd than we're used to here at Plough Lane, that's for sure. And it's a shame because the FA Cup deserves much bigger attendances than we've got so far this season.
Definitely. And we're going to join you probably. I don't think we're going to do half time. We might. I don't know. We're probably not going to do half time. We're going to need a bit of a break. But we're going to join you at full time. Well, not we can join you. You can join us at full time, and we can hopefully celebrate a Wimbledon victory and into the third round proper for will be the fifth time since we've been promoted. It's not bad, George, when you think about it, is it?
No, and when you think of it, I know I don't always think of this as a team that does well in the Cups. So when you look into that stat, it does surprise you a tiny bit. But we have done well. Obviously, we've had those memorable games against Liverpool, against Tottenham, and Premier League teams. Obviously, we had Arsenal in the League Cup earlier this season.
There's the referee walking off. We'll be back on in about a minute's time. I'm joking.
So,
sorry.
So hopefully hopefully we'll be in a position where it can be the start of another cup run today. Hopefully we'll be going in, and hopefully when we watch the draw tomorrow on Monday evening, hopefully we'll be in the hat, and hopefully we'll be getting that glamour tie and that money spinning tie that we all desperately want.
Which one? Do you want a home draw, George? Or
Man United away. The finance in me just can't say no to that.
It's always difficult, isn't it? It's always difficult. Man United are beatable at the moment, aren't they? Sorry, Aaron. They're not that beatable. Do you know what? I want a game here, I think, that would attract TV cameras.
Man United away would be on TV because Man United are contractually obligated to be on TV every FA Cup game they've ever played.
You're right, there is your argument. And as you can see, actually, the team now are coming off. What are we now? 13 minutes until kick-off here at Ayavasal. They look quite bright, fresh today, don't they? It's always difficult with 4 games, isn't it? I do like the top Ollie Palmer's wearing, by the way. It's such a disappointment that they're not selling it in a club shop. I don't know about that, but as you can see, they're coming off. The finishers staying on. I love the fact, by the way, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm noticing the camera's just going a little bit slow. Is that yours, George?
I don't know.
Your phone is playing up.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Okay. What we're going to do? Let me just quickly get a different camera. That my one. 1 second here. Let me just quickly. I think George is a little bit. It's typical George stuff, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? George stuff always great. Let me just quickly. Let me just quickly get this off, and we will. I'll get you the right picture on that one at all. Technology, George, technology. There we go. Back on that, and then we will just quickly. I know what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. George's one has just broke. It must be cold, George.
Yeah.
It must be cold. But as you can see, Cheltenham are literally just coming off. Look like they're in mourning, all black. I don't know if I like. Are they in their home kit today? Yeah, red, white. Yeah,
they're listed in their home kit, so I'm assuming that'll be accurate. But it's I'm sure there'll be a certain Nick Draper here in the crowd later who will be ecstatic to see a team in their home kit away from home. Meanwhile, I'm a bit disappointed they haven't worn their third kit for no obvious reason.
Definitely, and I'm just thinking I can't get that on there, but there is an FAW NL plate second round, Portishead versus Wimbledon. George.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. We're away to Portishead. AFC Wimbledon ladies, we're away to Portishead tomorrow in the next round of the FA Women's National League plate. It's a competition we want to do well in. We've beaten Norwich, we've beaten Cheltenham United in it already, so it's a competition we'll be looking to progress and hopefully do well. It's a long journey tomorrow down to Bristol for us, but I'm confident, I think we're all going into the game with an expectation that hopefully we'll be able to pull off a result and continue our long winning run, or long unbeaten run that we've been on, which is 10 games at the moment.
Yeah, and if everyone's not seen yet, a win against #United last week in the Women's
Vitality Women's FA
what
Cup.
order do I get it in? Some Women's FA Cup sponsored by Vitality. I'm just going to keep mixing it up. But #we're unbeaten all season.
Yeah, unbeaten in 49 games, so
really?
For us to go up there, an away game, obviously keep the clean sheet, get the 1-0 win. Ashley Hinks with a last minute winner. Happy birthday, Ashley, if she's watching for some reason. But I think it's one of those things where it's an incredible result for us. We'll be playing at Plough Lane in the next round of the Vitality Women's FA Cup. That game's going to be next Sunday, the 12th of December. Ticket information will be released probably on Monday afternoon. So, it would be great to get a great crowd for us for that, because the girls deserve an incredible crowd for what's going to be a very tough game against either Ipswich or Crawley Wasps.
Thank you, George. You're finished now. That's the start to kick off. I'm joking. Obviously, we wish Ashley happy birthday, but obviously because we're our manners, I'm not really going to say how old she is. 21 again. If Ashley is going to say on that,
I won't be commenting on that bit.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like with us, as